We studied 13 different countries where Donald Trump could potentially get dual citizenship in 4 different ways. Today, we're going to tell you Donald Trump's best chances at becoming a dual citizen. Let's go. Donald Trump said that if he lost to Joe Biden, he might have to leave the country out of shame. And one of the easiest ways to be able to leave the country is to have another country ready to go. Dual citizenship makes that easier than having a residence permit or going on a tourist visa. And one of the most overlooked ways to get dual citizenship is through your spouse. This could be someone you're legally married to, as Donald Trump is legally married to Melania. It can in some cases be a common law spouse or someone that you've cohabitated with for a certain period of years. Now, Melania Trump is a naturalized U.S. citizen, but even though Slovenia is more strict on dual citizenship, it has been documented that she's somehow still a Slovenian citizen, as is her son. And so Slovenia allows for someone to become a citizen through 3 years of marriage, which Donald Trump meets, and one of those years being spent in Slovenia. Now, Slovenia is not particularly a low-tax country, and so if Donald Trump were to move there for that 1 year, it's likely he would be tax resident. There'd be complicated tax treaties and all sorts of things between the U.S. and Slovenia, and there may be a little bit of extra tax to pay. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you're moving from a low-tax country to a high-tax country to go and claim your citizenship. Now, whether Slovenia would fast-track that application or say, do we want to be associated with a former politician, that's an issue that might be taken up on an independent basis for his application, but it seems that Donald Trump does qualify for Slovenian citizenship. One way that many Americans actually qualify for a second passport from some pretty good passport countries is what's called citizenship by descent. This could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a great-grandparent. Different countries allow you to go different number of generations back. Donald Trump's mother was born in Scotland and immigrated to the United States, and so having a parent from another country is generally one of the easiest ways to do this because there's not really much to prove. However, Donald Trump actually has to prove in his case double descent, which I'll get to in a moment. And so I asked our R&D manager, Jovana Vojnovic, her thoughts in this case, and she looked into it and said, based on all the circumstances, his chance of getting UK citizenship are slim, and the case would be complex. She says double descent cases are addressed on a case-by-case basis and can be processed over multiple years. Citizenship by descent isn't particularly fast, but in the UK, it's faster if there's a direct link of descent. Due to his political exposure as well, it's likely that the UK authorities would drag this case out. Now, here's the overview. Citizenship by descent through the mother. There certainly were countries a long time ago, and a few countries still, that don't allow mothers to pass on their citizenship. But in this case, Donald Trump was born in 1946. His mother was Scottish. She emigrated to the United States in 1930. She became a naturalized citizen in 1942. That's an important fact here, before he was born. Now, at the time of his birth, there were 2 important factors in determining citizenship. The first is that the UK was not allowing dual citizenship until 1948, meaning that his mother would have lost her British citizenship when naturalized in the US before he was born. This is a common issue where someone's grandparent, for example, was Italian, but renounced it or lost it because dual citizenship laws used to be much more strict and used to favor single citizenship back before the world became so international. And so someone just misses it sometimes by a couple of years. The unbroken chain does not exist. Here's the second issue. At that time and up until 1983, the UK did not allow passing down citizenship through a female line if the child was born abroad. And so that was simply not possible. Now, what you'll see is you can't have multiple generations, in some cases, born abroad, but the first generation will be allowed. In this case, the rule applied if you were born in wedlock and to a foreign father. And so although there's an option to correct this nowadays, he still won't be able to do so because his mother lost that British citizenship. Now, interestingly enough, she says, his older sister Elizabeth may be able to claim it because if she was born before March 1942, when Donald Trump's mother actually naturalized. And so before 1949, here's where Donald Trump could potentially qualify because his mother didn't have the citizenship, couldn't pass it down. Double descent means that before 1949, the UK allowed passing down of British citizenship to multiple generations born abroad under certain conditions, meaning that you could basically claim British citizenship by descent from a grandparent, which is not really is readily possible now. The most common types of claims happen in the following circumstances. You and your parents were not born in a former Commonwealth country and must be born before 1915. his mother meets those criteria. You or your parent was born in a former British territory, or your grandparent or parent was married to a British man before 1949. And so he meets that because of his grandparents. But overall, the case is very complex. It would be a lot to prove. And the UK authorities, in the opinion of our network, would want to drag that out. And so the case on the UK is unlikely. Slovenia, within the European Union, offers the ability to live anywhere that you want within the European Union. That would be interesting to see. Donald Trump kind of going to some other country and registering after 90 days that he wants to live there, kind of like going to a new state's DMV. The UK, not so likely. Now, if you don't have someone in your family tree, if you don't have a foreign spouse, citizenship by investment is one way to get a passport in a matter of months. We help our clients do that, and we have many different countries to choose from. So before you go out and spend money on citizenship by investment, consider that we've helped clients get passports in dozens upon dozens of countries, and we can advise you on the best one or multiple passports to get before you make an investment. But Caribbean citizenship by investment, there are 5 countries that do it. Generally speaking, the process is you make a donation, and they do a background check, and you get citizenship in a matter of months. And so the issue there is not only, being a politically exposed person, being a former leader, particularly in the Caribbean, which is in the U.S.'s backyard. They want to get along with the U.S. to a certain extent, and they probably just don't want to take on the case. They have, discretion to say, this person seems like they just would be too much difficulty. We don't want pressure from other countries. We're very small countries ourselves. We don't want pressure from maybe our own population. But the situation with Donald Trump's current indictments actually makes it much easier because, generally speaking, if you have any kind of criminal record, you can not apply and successfully get these Caribbean citizenships by investment. They do not want to be known as a haven for criminals. And so while Donald Trump has not been convicted at this point, the fact that there are indictments there, the general advice would be, wait this out, get those things resolved, and if they're resolved in your favor, then come back and do it at that time. There have been a few people who have been convicted of things like financial crimes and were able to get citizenship. Often there's a big distance in the time. They'd often kind of made amends, what have you. But generally speaking, these countries don't like you to be a criminal. They don't want criminals to apply for their passports. And so Caribbean citizenship by investment programs, our belief is all 5 would be next to impossible to qualify for. Malta has not technically a citizenship by investment program, but Malta, being in the European Union, offers one of the best passports in the world. Malta in the European Union has not a citizenship by investment program, what they call an exceptional investor naturalization program. This is different from other countries that offer exceptional citizenship programs. I'm going to talk about this in a moment, and they may actually be the best chance for Donald Trump to get second citizenship. We'll come back to that in a second. Malta's program, however, is streamlined. And so it's well known. You can make a donation all in for the whole family. It'll cost you about $1 million. Why, if you were able to get Slovenian citizenship, you would want to go and pay for Maltese citizenship is a question that you would want to ask because you can get it through your wife for free. Although, if that 1 year in Slovenia would cost you more than $1 million in tax exposure or compliance costs, then you might say, hey, it's not worth it. Or if just the lifestyle of living in Slovenia for a year was not worth saving $1 million. But here's the issue: Malta is by far the most strict country in terms of who they approve for their citizenship program. If the Caribbean citizenships aren't going to do it, Malta has literally come out in the record in years past and said, don't send your people here. We're the most strict. They reject about 1/4 of people. They certainly could look at this and say, the guy's, it's going to bring ill repute. We do have people, in the EU complaining to us. And certainly, again, pending indictments, there's absolutely no way you're getting anywhere close to Malta citizenship with that. The one that we believe there could be some possibilities with is Turkey. And so Turkey is a little bit less strict. They do due diligence, but they're more forgiving. And I think that's perhaps because, unlike Malta, which is a very small country in the EU, unlike the Caribbean countries, which are very small, Turkey's a large country. And so, they're naturalizing through various means. I think hundreds of thousands of people over, periods of years. And so it's, what's one extra person? Even, we think that potentially, and this is based on some of our network in Turkey that we posed this question to, they said, listen, maybe they would say, hey, we're neutral. For example, in the Ukraine-Russia war, Turkey's been rather neutral. Listen, we're going to be neutral on this. We think these indictments could be politically motivated, and so we'll let them in. What does that do between the U.S. and Turkey? Certainly Turkey's more able to defend themselves against the U.S. If there's some kind of diplomatic spat over that than, let's say, Dominica in the US. And so our people on the ground in Turkey think that he has a chance. And so if Donald Trump wants to buy $400,000 in real estate, he can do it. There are the Trump Towers, not particularly located in the best part of town. So I think he would probably be better off not buying in the Trump Towers where he licensed his name in Istanbul. So Turkey's potential. Now, let me come back to what's called citizenship by exception. And so this is where certain countries' laws allow the president or the prime minister or a vote of the parliament or a board or whatever that law applies to in that particular country to grant citizenship. One country that if you've been looking around at citizenships that are available through investment you may have seen is Austria. It is not a citizenship by investment program. It is a program where they take it on a case-by-case basis. They have to like you, unlike a citizenship by investment program where it's you're not going to cause total chaos in our country and you're not a criminal and you haven't been sued 1,000 times. A program like Austria is much more bespoke. So countries that have this, it could be of interest. Poland, for example, one of the more Eurosceptic countries in the EU, potentially they have some interest. The president there might grant citizenship. Serbia potentially might be interested. Russia, obviously, there's a lot has been talked about with Russia. It's a total hoax. But the president of Russia is able to grant citizenship to whomever he would like. And one other country that's interesting, and I'm not sure how they would handle this, is the UAE. You are seeing, rumors are, 100 or 200 people a year being granted citizenship through this means. Kevin O'Leary, for example, has come out and said he's been given Emirati citizenship. And so it's a fast-track process where the people in control say, hey, we want you to be a citizen. There are other countries that can do this. France and Lithuania and others. I don't know that they would be interested in giving that to Donald Trump. And Montenegro is another one, by the way, that comes to mind. You've seen Vitalik Buterin recently got citizenship that way in Montenegro. The ex-prime minister of Thailand at one point was given citizenship in Montenegro. There's a big kind of political hoo-ha around that back at a time when Montenegro was originally looking to have citizenship by investment the first time back in the late 2000s, not the program that just closed. So you've got countries that could just say, hey, the president likes Donald Trump, we're going to give him citizenship. And that's certainly very doable. And that may be one of the easiest ways for him to get it without having to move, without him having to put forward a very complicated multi-year case for double descent in the UK, without him having to really go through any background checks other than the politicians feel comfortable giving it to him, without even having to buy real estate in Turkey. And so that's ways that Donald Trump could be a dual citizen in any of about 13 different countries. There are certainly others that have citizenship by investment. Vanuatu might be happy to have him. Egypt, I don't know about the geopolitics of Egypt, but they have a citizenship by investment program. They also potentially might be interested. Perhaps, lesser interest for those. Although, Donald Trump being ni Vanuatu would indeed be very interesting. Now, if you're looking to get your dual citizenship, and you are not a politically exposed person, and you are not under indictment, and you have not been sued many times, Nomad Capitalist helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs pick from the buffet of different citizenship options. If you're an entrepreneur, there may be options that aren't available to other people. There's many different ways to get dual citizenship, and quite frankly, in this case, it might be good to have a passport portfolio. Perhaps not great politically if you're running for president again, and you've seen candidates from Michelle Bachmann give up Swiss citizenship, Ted Cruz gave up Canadian citizenship. If you're running for president, people want you to be just the country that you're from, generally speaking. But forget all of that. Having a basket of passports, I think 3 is a good number for the average person, is something that Nomad Capitalist can help you do. Go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about our approach. We do not push product. We do not have 3 options that we're in league with the government on. We have a network of experts all around the world, and we can also offer what they generally don't, which is we have a network of tax experts, and we do tax planning, especially if you're an American. You want to know what impact is your citizenship? What impact is potentially a move overseas going to have? Do you want bank accounts, right? People say, oh, I'm a St. Lucia citizen, I should bank in St. Lucia. That's not really the best advice. So if you want to put together an entire suite of international diversification, whether it's a plan A that involves moving, whether it's a plan B that involves staying in your own country, but having bank accounts, having passports, having residences, having homes, go to nomadcapitalist.com. It's the most unique and most bespoke service for successful people who want to have a toe hold in other countries. Go to nomadcapitalist.com and we'd be happy to help you become a dual citizen and become diversified overseas.